Welcome to Astrology Heals, a podcast that brings you messages of hope and healing from the planets. I'm your host, Marina Orms, author and founder of Astrology Heals. I'm an evolutionary and transformational astrologer of over 30 years. My purpose is to help you live your authentic truth with clarity, courage, and creative power. Welcome to episode 7. Today we are looking at a planetary alignment happening in the sky, a cradle formation that is forming amongst the outer planets with Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus in a triangle and Jupiter stepping into the fourth point of a six-pointed star, all coming into close to exact on July 19th and 20th, 2026. This episode drops right in the middle of when this alignment is within a small fraction of a degree of 1, 2, 3 exact sextiles, 2 exact trines, 1 exact opposition, creating a kind of harmonic invitation to step into our highest potential. And not only are there 3 sextiles, 2 trines, and an opposition, but these are waxing sextiles and waxing trines. And that means they have to do with the future. Today, I want to look at what the cradle means and what comes next, what comes after this crazy alignment. It's not a single moment. It's a moment in a bigger process, many bigger processes that are happening. If we are in the middle of this cradle, when you listen to this episode, it's a perfect time to take stock of what is happening for yourself and in the world around you. Notice what you appreciate, what you want to celebrate, where you notice things emerging or changing in happy and positive ways, whether that's in your life or in the world around you. These possibilities are showing you the beginnings of what is yet to come if you invest in them, if you choose to step forward into these opening doors that have support for you to move forward. If you're listening to this episode in the future and you're looking back at July 19th and 20th, notice what was unfolding in your life around that time. What was happening in the world? Look at what you were learning or discovering and ask yourself how you can keep making progress on that path of what truly feels important to you. Because it's not a single moment when these events unfold. It's not like the sky opens up and everything changes. It's a process, and we're in the middle of the process, understanding the bigger process where we are and how to keep going on our own journey of healing and manifestation. So understanding where we are in the process can be so helpful to give us that perspective, to see where we are at and what we are becoming, what we are creating, what's possible, what we want to keep choosing, what directions we want to be moving in. This cradle represents the unfolding cycles of several pairs of planets. So we have a waxing sextile between Neptune and Pluto. That's one story. We have a waxing sextile between Uranus and Neptune. That's another story. We have a waxing sextile between Jupiter and Uranus. Another story. And we have a waxing trine from Uranus to Pluto. We have a waxing trine from Jupiter to Neptune. We have an opposition of Jupiter to Pluto. So all of these stories are happening at the same time, which is always true that there are these different stories unfolding. But what's really unique and significant about this moment is that when we look at where we are in at least 3 of these stories, we're at the waxing sextile, and that's a specific moment in the cycle. It is the moment when we look to the future. It's future-oriented, future-focused. Something is coming into our awareness that can give us the hint of what is possible if we keep going. It gives us that glimpse of the future, just the same way that the waxing crescent moon gives us a hint of what the full moon will reveal. It's just beginning to show its light. So if we continue investing in what we care about, what matters, we have that view of what's possible, what is starting to emerge that we can keep going toward. It can also clarify what we need to adapt to maybe eliminate if it's not working, letting go of what is not helpful on the journey to get where we're going. So imagine that you are going out on a trek, like, some kind of long journey. You have an important destination. Maybe you're heading to a mountaintop, and it's a long way to get there, right? There are going to be things that you learn along the journey, ways that you change along the journey. So when you began this journey, which is what happens at basically the conjunction when 2 planets come together, that's when the seed is planted. You're making that choice. Here's where I'm going. I'm heading toward the mountaintop. I know what I want. So I've got my backpack, my suitcase, I've got all my supplies, I've got my plan, I have everything thought through and figured out, right? And clear about where I'm headed and why. But then you start on the journey. Once it's underway, you start to understand what it means to get where you're going. That's where we are in the process right now in these 3 big picture cycles. We are starting to understand what it's going to take to get where we want to go. And we're starting to see also that glimpse of possibility. Oh, maybe we can get there. Maybe we can pull it off. It's not certain, and it might still feel unclear how it's all going to work out, but we are in the process, both feet moving forward to figure this out. Now we've learned on our journey, here's what I wish I had brought. Here's what I wish I had planned for. And maybe there's an opportunity here to change the plan a little bit, get rid of what's weighing you down. Oh, I brought this thing and I really don't need it. So this is all that problem solving that happens. And that is where we are in the process as well. We're figuring out what we need to figure out as we glimpse where we're headed. We're getting that bigger picture view of what is possible and what it will look like to get there. So we're here immersing ourselves in the reality of the process of change and what that change looks like. And it's happening in these multiple stories all at the same time. The Neptune-Pluto story, the Uranus-Neptune story, the Uranus-Pluto story, the Jupiter-Uranus story, all of them are at this point in their journey with these parallel viewpoints, all at the same visionary point that opens us to what it will look like to actually arrive at our destination. And no, that is not true for all of the planets. But because it is true for the 3 outermost planets at the same time, it is the uniting principle of our time and specifically of the energy of not just 2026, but 2024 through 2029 as we move through this outer planet triangle. And last week, I talked about Jupiter and the power of Jupiter in Leo in the leading edge of the cradle. So you have the three outer planets coming into their closest to exact approach, the closest it gets really in this whole 5-6 year time period, right on July 19th and 20th of 2026. And as that happens, not only is that happening, but Jupiter says, hey, let me just slide in here in an exact waxing sextile to Uranus, creating the fourth point of a six-pointed star. So Jupiter has a lot to say here. And if you're more interested in what Jupiter has to say, listen to last week's episode 6, about Jupiter in Leo and what it says about leadership. But there are other parts to this story as well. And Uranus in Gemini is another big one. So after Jupiter in Leo, we have the next sort of big picture leader, and Uranus is over a longer time frame than Jupiter. Jupiter is brief but potent, showing us the way forward. Uranus is long term, and it's also showing us the way forward, with Uranus being the planet of shakeup, of change, of unexpected development, speeding things up in the sign of Gemini, which is about communication, information, how we get information. And here's the thing, the clue helping us move forward is pointing out that, yes, we have this artificial intelligence that is shooting our processing time through the roof, through the ceiling, through the sky. We have increased our processing time for things that computers can do. But we have to recognize that computers have their own limitations, and we have to balance what computers can do versus what human beings can do. So we also have to ask, what about our human intelligence? What do we need to know? How do we need to support our learning, our communication, our human processing, and these bigger questions of how we support human intelligence are going to be very important in the coming years, because we are looking at that mountain and right back to the journey, back to the mountain. And when Uranus is in an opposition to Neptune, we will have reached a culmination of the Uranus-Neptune cycle, which began in 1992 and 93 when they were conjunct, and they will reach their opposition in another 50 years or so. So we're building toward that. We will see the culmination of what we've been working on related to human intelligence and getting outside the box, freedom, authenticity, how we live according to our highest principles, our highest capacity for love and compassion, which is Neptune, Uranus-Neptune cycle. And that's just that cycle. So we also have the Uranus-Pluto cycle, which began in the 1960s. And that was a time of social and cultural transformation. And if you think of that time as the beginning of its own kind of story, its own journey, we have now come to the waxing trine of that cycle. So we are evolving and unfolding toward what is possible. So some of these cycles are longer than others, but they all at the same time bring this particular phase in a bigger cycle that is future oriented. And not only are we at this particular phase with these outer planets, but they also align it's all at the same time, meaning they are in this exact planetary cradle. That is what is happening on July 19th and 20th. So there is a potency to this moment that is symbolically about when we begin to glimpse more clearly what is possible, and we have a choice about whether we're going to continue on that path, move forward, create what we want, or take the easy route and become complacent and just say, oh, I hope it works out, allow the world to happen around us, which means that those who are the opportunists will get to decide what happens, right? So if we want to steer the ship, we have to make our own decisions. And we do that by living our lives in the ways that matter to us. And we can make huge differences locally, even when we can't on a national or global scale. Like it might feel too overwhelming, but your local impact is one way you can make a powerful difference in whatever you do, right? However you show up in your leadership, whether that's with one person or many. And think about how in our bodies, we have trillions of cells, right? Each cell has to be healthy for the whole to be healthy. So if you are a cell, one of trillions, and you're just choosing to say, oh, I'll just go to sleep. There's plenty of other cells. I'll let them decide, right? Maybe you're just going to check out and hope it all works out for the best. Maybe in that process, you're actually letting something take over that you don't want. Maybe the other body cells actually do need your help. Maybe they can't defend against threats to the organism without you being healthy and strong and doing your best at what it is you do. So if you focus on your own health and functioning and doing that optimally and doing your own job the best way you can do your job. So if you're a liver cell or a skin cell or whatever kind of cell you are, right? You're not trying to do everything. You are just trying to do your part in the best way that you can. So who you are and your talents and skills and experiences and aptitude and wisdom, all of that is part of your own health and well-being. All the things you have been given to heal, your generational trauma, your family issues, your workplace issues, even, very much in the here and now. Maybe you have a difficult person that you have trouble getting along with at work. That is an area of healing. How can you show up in the best ways possible to facilitate healing and transformation in that relationship, because you are contributing to the health of the whole? And it's not easy, right? It takes courage. It's not for the weak. It is definitely for the strong. And that is why you have been working your entire life to become a stronger human being, which I know probably most of you listening have. So all the things that you have done already to heal yourself, to grow your own resilience, to be a better person, all of those things go into how you show up to do your part to be healthy for the whole. That is humbling, and it is also how you express your greatest potential. So by living according to who you are and the truth within you, you are also helping to make the whole, the bigger picture, right? The whole, the community, the collective, a better place for everyone. And if you role model going, well, I don't have all the answers, but I am willing to show up and uncover those answers or discover them or explore or learn what there is for me to learn. If you are willing to do that, you are a role model that ripples out into the world in both tangible and intangible ways to maybe make that difference for someone else, to make the difference that brings about change, either in the short term or in the long run. And that is what comes after this sky cradle. And how we think about it is we keep going. What does it look like to keep going? And so whether you're in the middle of it now or you're listening to this in the future, looking back, this is a time of opening to new possibilities, to what is here that maybe you haven't taken seriously or you haven't realized is an invitation to move forward. It's that opening. It's also a choice point. What are you choosing? What are you committing to? What are you investing in? How are you willing to learn? Because we can't be intelligent if we can't learn. Our willingness to continue learning and improving and exploring and discovering is part of how we do this process. And you can keep doing that. If you're listening to this episode in the future, look back to July 19th and 20th, 2026, and ask yourself, what was I noticing then? What was I stepping into? What was I choosing? And how can I reaffirm that choice of what I saw was possible? How can I keep myself on track or maybe course correct if I've gotten off track? Maybe you didn't see the possibilities in front of you. Maybe you can see now that they were there and do something about it now. So whether this is the present or whether this cradle is in the past, it's the same idea. What choices are you making? What are you aligning with, stepping into, and moving toward? How are you investing in the future that is important to you? How are you keeping yourself going for that journey to the mountaintop, remembering why and what you're headed toward? So that's what I've got for you today. If you'd like more support on your journey, book a reading with me at astrologyheals.com. You could support this podcast by following, rating, and sharing it with your friends. I appreciate you, and until next time, be well. This is Marina Orms. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Astrology Heals: Clarity, Courage, and Creative Power. If you'd like to dive in a little deeper with this material, I invite you to join my member community at transformationalastrology.com. There, we work together to unlock the energy of each unique moon cycle through guided meditations, exercises, and more to support you in your journey to be your best self and to be the best you can be to make a positive difference in the world around you. That's transformationalastrology.com. Check it out. You can also find daily Mood of the Day videos on my YouTube channel at Astrology Heals. See you there.